Welcome to this Times Techies webinar. I'm Sujit John, and I have with me my colleague Shilpa Fadnis. The two of us will moderate the discussion. We hope you and your families are staying safe and doing well. Our discussion today is on smartphone innovations and tech trends, and it is in association with MediaTek. MediaTek is a Taiwanese fabless semiconductor company that powers more than 2 billion devices a year. It's the world's fourth largest chip maker and the biggest smartphone chipset vendor. It provides chips for wireless communications, high definition televisions, smartphones, tablet computers, navigation systems, and consumer multimedia products. In July last year, we had a discussion in association with MediaTek on technology drivers for creating a mature 5G device ecosystem in India. Today, we'll carry that discussion forward. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said in a budget speech that 5G spectrum auctions will be conducted in the coming financial year. So there's much to look forward to. To discuss the innovations we can expect in the coming times, we have with us four seasoned professionals. We have with us Finbarr Moynihan. Finbarr leads corporate marketing at MediaTek. He's speaking to us from the US. He's in Silicon Valley. So it's 9:30 p.m. for him. Finbarr joined MediaTek in 2008 with the acquisition of Analog Devices' wireless chipset business. Prior to his current role, Finbarr held multiple sales and development roles at MediaTek. He was most recently responsible for the Americas and Europe regions. From 2008 to 2011, including a 2-year assignment at MediaTek headquarters in Hsinchu, Taiwan, he worked in different roles in product marketing, focused mainly on the mobile chipset and smartphone product roadmaps. Welcome, Finbarr.
Thanks, Sujit. Nice to be here.
We have Anku Jain. Anku is Managing Director of MediaTek India. Anku has established MediaTek as a key player in the Indian market and helped democratize the face of the Indian mobile ecosystem. He works with cross-cultural teams across India, China, and Taiwan in the areas of embedded software, semiconductor, telecom, and mobile phone design. Anku holds multiple patents in the field of mobile telephony. Prior to MediaTek, he worked with technology firms like Sprint, Riverrun, and Network Programs. Welcome, Anku.
Thank you, and nice to be here.
We have Tasleem Arif. Tasleem is Vice President and R&D Head of Oppo India. He's responsible for driving localized, consumer-centric innovation in India, overseeing software development for Oppo smartphones, and boosting Oppo's Make for India initiative. Under his leadership, Oppo has filed over 700 patents around fast charging, AI, and camera technology. Before Oppo, Tasleem was with Samsung India. His research portfolio includes over 20 patents and many research papers. Welcome, Tasleem.
Thanks, Shilpa. Nice to be here.
Thank you. And we have Karthik Vasudevan. Karthik is Director of Strategic Accounts at GfK, the German-based data analytics provider for the global consumer products industry. Karthik is a sales and account management professional with over 20 years of experience in telecom, consumer electronics, IT, and retail. He's worked in organizations like HCL, Electrolux across sales, product management, and account management. He's been with GfK since 2013. Welcome, Karthik.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Those of us who are viewing this can send in questions through the Facebook comment box. Sujit and I will put them to Finbarr, Anku, Tasleem, and Karthik. Coming to you first, Finbarr, MediaTek has done some great developments and growth last year. How do you see India's telecom sector evolving with the advent of 5G technologies?
Thanks, Shilpa. Yes, it's great to be here. It's great to be with the panels, and thanks for the kind introduction. It's also great to be sharing the stage with our great partner, Oppo, who we've worked with for many, many years on 4G devices, and now we see with the new portfolio more and more 5G devices coming. But to your question, Shilpa, yes, I think over the last couple of years, MediaTek has seen some very strong revenue growth from 2020 to 21, and even from 19 to 20, where we ended last year at over $17 billion US. And certainly mobile has been the largest segment of our business. I think Sujit mentioned at the start that we became the largest smartphone SoC vendor in 2020, and that's a position we've held for the last couple of quarters. India has certainly been a major factor in driving some of that growth for us. Not just in the last year, but over the feature phone, 3G, 4G, and now into the 5G generation. Certainly, partners like Oppo are a huge part of that, like in terms of driving the actual devices and building really innovative mobile phones and smartphones for the consumers. So we're certainly excited about the road ahead. We're certainly excited about what 5G is going to enable. We see 2022 really as the year for global expansion of 5G. A lot of our 5G volume has been driven in other markets, but I think markets like India are going to be more and more important going forward.
Yeah, there's a lot more to ask you later, Finbarr, but let me just ask Anku to elaborate. You said Finbarr, you said 2022 will be a major year for you with 5G and all of that. Anku, the same question to you. You yourself announced recently how 2022 will be a year of rapid growth in R&D for MediaTek. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think as Finbarr mentioned, the last 2 years we have actually seen a lot of revenue growth in MediaTek, and I think this year that momentum will carry on. During the COVID time, we have seen a lot of demand of various electronic devices, and that's a trend we will also look at this year in 2022. So actually, MediaTek has been constantly innovating to deliver experiences which are incredible for the users, and 5G has actually have had a very key role for us to play. And in India as well, we will see adoption of 5G this year. And although 5G devices are already available, which is great to see, but we are really very excited about 5G to be deployed here. And the momentum around Dimensity 5G chipsets will keep going. So that is one trend we look at. Other than that, if I talk about India, 2022 for India will be a year for smart devices as well. So not only smartphones, but devices which are based on AIoT or cloud platforms for smart devices. I think that's something which will pick up. And definitely we have a lot of R&D and innovation globally and as well as in India. We have 2 R&D centers in Noida and Bangalore. So we expect that we will kind of rely more and more on India talent pool. So that is something which will grow further this year. And India is a very important market, as Finbarr mentioned, not only from market point of view, but also from talent access point of view. So I think both the points will keep growing this year. We are really looking forward to it, and hopefully, we'll do well.
Yeah, market and talent. Yeah. Yeah, Shilpa, go ahead.
Tasleem, coming to you, Oppo has revolutionized camera innovations in smartphones. What are some of the newer trends that you're seeing in smartphone camera and imaging technologies from Oppo in 2022?
Thanks. First of all, thanks to Times Group for having me in this panelist. MediaTek is always a very key strategic partner. So it's great to be here with our MediaTek executives. So back to your question, as a Oppo, we know that we are known as a Oppo camera brand. Lot of innovation we do on the camera side. When we started our brand in somewhere in 2013-14, that time we started more innovation on the camera side. And that time, with the time evolve, when the new technology, 5G, many things comes. So now we are more emphasizing on the AI side. So if you see the recent model, which we has launched, Reno 7 Pro, that is customized. We had customized the MediaTek Dimensity 1200 Max, because we strongly believe that if you have to do innovation, either in the camera side, then you need to not only optimize the software, but also you need to optimize the hardware side also. And that is the reason when we had launched this Reno 7 Pro, we had customized the MediaTek Dimensity 1200 Max with our own AI Dibbler and AI PQ features. In that, we are trying to optimize the picture quality, because these are the things we feel that if we do enhance this hardware capability, then it will reflect in the user experience also. And that is one of the key in the Reno 7 Pro we had, which we have launched recently, is more on that camera only, and we're calling it as a portrait expert. In that, lot of innovation we had done on the AI side, driven for the camera experience. If you see here in this, we had also added the world first 32 megapixel IMX 709, which is used for the selfie camera, followed by the 50 megapixel IMX 766 flagship rear camera. So this will help you to capture the better picture. Not only on this, a lot of AI side also we had innovated in this. We had customized that RGBW and incorporated the world first doll SDI into this. That help you to get the picture quality, the picture sharpness, and also in the night mode, AI video quality. Because if you see, when you take the portrait, the house, the background, how to identify the object, lot of AI required in that. So in this, we had done lot of our own AI in-house solution to enhance this one. So in this model, lot of, if you'll see camera side, we had done a lot of feature which is driven by the AI of the research which we had done in the in-house.
Fascinating. Yeah, AI being used for such fascinating work, and like you said, optimizing software and hardware for that. Karthik, tell me, I mean, from the consumer side, you see demand for all of these things?
Yeah, hi. First of all, thank you for having me here. I'll tell you what, Sujit, I mean, about 20 years ago, when I just started my career, we used to have this Nokia communicator, right? That point of time, I remember this particular incident. There was a very senior gentleman in one of the big 3 audit firms, and he had bought this. And I had to go to his house to go and explain to him about the features of the phone. And his wife was there with him, and he was showing this to his wife, and he said, "Hey, why don't you buy one also?" She looked at the phone and she looked at me and she said, "Can it make tea for me?" I was flabbergasted. So obviously I couldn't answer. And but I'll tell you what, little did I ever think that in a way it is possible today with different smart devices talking to each other. But the entire point which I want to make now is consumers are very clear as to what they want. While all of us know that you have cameras, you have RAM, and there is a scale up which is happening, but it's more to do with what is it that they want and what do they want the devices to do for them. So one of the things which we actually do is to answer to a question in terms of what do the consumer want, is we also do a global consumer study. It's called a GfK Consumer Life, which do it across different countries. And of course, India is a prominent one among them. So one of the very key takeouts which we've got from the Indian consumer is that today, millennials, which is basically, people between the 25 to 45 age group, right? That's those are the consumers who are actually buying the devices now. And Gen Z, which is again between 15 to 25. Now, it's about 65% of India is millennials and Gen Z. So, what they're saying? What they're saying is we want devices and tech, not just devices, but we want tech which is simple, which can take decisions for us and help us take useful actions, and tech which knows me and identifies me. That's very important. So, and it's important because that's how we have now started defining AI or machine learning, or different aspects of that. So, those are some of the things which the consumers are looking at. So it could be something very simple like, I have so many notifications which I get on my phone, but I don't want to miss that one particular notification from my girlfriend or from my wife or from my parents, right? So how do I know that, right? And it could be something which could be very much like a Tony Stark kind of an Iron Man kind of a thing, which is what we see in some of these Marvel movies, right? Which is more today in terms of VR and AR, right? But end of the day, it needs to be actionable for the consumer. So I think that's the key thing which we are looking at today.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, notifications, like you said, I wish it would also recognize notifications that I don't want to see.
Yeah,
and
of course.
not show me those. No, fascinating stuff happening. Yeah, I mean, I'm also, I mean, I don't know. I mean, tea will, I guess, take a little more time to do, but at least smell, I've been hearing about a lot of you talking about smell. I don't know when that'll come, but Shilpa, go on.
Finbarr, coming to you, what are some of the advantages across performance, features, power consumption that we can see in the market from all the flagships?
Yeah, I mean, I think great discussion on cameras, and I tend to agree that I can maybe go back further than Karthik, and I remember when we were starting to put cameras in phones for the first time, and people thought we were crazy. And that tells you how old I am, I guess. But I think it is one of the most interesting areas of innovation in the whole mobile smartphone area today. And it's exactly what Tasleem was mentioning, right? Which is, the amount of innovation that's happened with the number of cameras, the number of sensors, the type of sensors, how all that data is processed, and then the merging of the camera technology and the AI technology to create those kind of useful user experiences that Karthik was referencing, I think is really where a lot of the innovation is. I mean, I think more broadly, when we look at the high end of the market, the computing power is always going to be important for applications, responsiveness. People just are, more and more demanding. They want it better, faster, right? So, but it's always trying to do that under, constrained power budgets that we have in these mobile devices that we hold in our hands and can, only get so hot. That demands, of course, that we move to, the more advanced process technologies like 6 nanometer, 5 nanometer, 4 nanometer technology in the future for power consumption. And that's a continuous, every couple of years we move to a new generation to improve that. Probably I think Tasleem mentioned this as well, but the whole picture quality and the display of what you see is still an area that's a lot of work going on. Again, also with a lot of AI technology, as Tasleem mentioned, coming into that. Again, to enhance that experience that the consumer gets, right? Whether it's watching a movie or watching videos or even their own personal videos. And at MediaTek, we try to bring a lot of our technology from our TV space that we can leverage into that. So there's a lot of synergy between the TV business and our mobile business when it comes to picture quality enhancement. I think most people naively assume that the picture quality is determined by the actual physical display. And of course, that's an important aspect of it. But what a lot of people don't realize is on TVs, and as I'm sure Tasleem can speak more about, on the mobile side, there's a lot of processing and a lot of semiconductors behind that actually go into balancing, improving the quality, the colors, the experience for the user. So, I would say power, computing, camera, imaging, AI, and probably picture quality are where a lot of the innovation is happening right now.
Okay. What about smell, Finbarr? When will that come?
I never bet against technology, so I'm sure somebody somewhere is working on it. but it may happen someday.
Okay.
And if it's happened, then as Oppo, we will be the first one to take it to the market.
I'm sure.
Actually, I read about that somewhere, and it is serious stuff. It's not like it may just happen. You never know.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Well, it could be for all kinds of things, like even sensing your environment, right? In new sources of data. So yeah, I wouldn't rule it out. And maybe tea will come later then.
There are already some questions coming in from the audience, but I'll keep that for later. Anku, I want to ask you, MediaTek is one of the first adopters of Wi-Fi 7 technology and has been involved in the development of Wi-Fi 7 standards since its inception. What are some of the disruptions that we will see in combination with the latest flagship 5G chips?
Yeah, so 5G is something which is a great technology for the outdoors. We are connected well when we go out and enjoy the connectivity. And Wi-Fi is a technology which is great to have indoors, when you're at home or in office. So Wi-Fi 7 is the next iteration of Wi-Fi standard. Right now we are having Wi-Fi 6. And this Wi-Fi 7 will open the path for super high bandwidth wireless applications. And there are several takeaways. For example, it will have major impact expected on home and office networks. And smart homes, with multitudes of devices will be connected across single Wi-Fi 7 network. So as you see in the last, recently, especially during the COVID times, we have seen at home, we are connected to smart TV, we are connected to, laptop, routers, and tablets. So many devices hogging up the bandwidth from the Wi-Fi device. So that's where this this next generation of Wi-Fi will really chip in, and it'll help us to get connected in a more with a faster bandwidth and low latency. And also, we will look at things like high-performing campus networks and industrial networks with improved productivity. And we are looking at trends like AR, VR applications, and those are really applications which need very high bandwidth and low latency. And those will flourish to deliver high engaging, immersive user experiences. And that's where we are going towards in the metaverse and so on. And that will have applications in art, entertainment, gaming, real estate, tours, shopping, also training, right? I mean, you can have virtual training of something which is otherwise very difficult to replicate. You can actually have that done in AR, VR application. So all these will be the applications which will be really great for Wi-Fi 7 kind of technology. And we'll also, something like a 4K or 8K video calling may become mainstream going forward. So that is also is a great application of Wi-Fi 7. So this is, I feel it's a great, we are looking at a very good technology, which is, at the right time, when we are ready to hog up all this bandwidth with all these amazing applications. And in fact, we have recently done a world's first live demo of Wi-Fi 7 technology recently. And that highlighted the capabilities of our forthcoming Wi-Fi 7 5G connectivity portfolio. So this is, we are looking forward to this technology, and I think it'll make user experiences even better than what they are now.
So these AR, VR, metaverse kind of technologies, what you won't require headsets and all, is it?
No, I think for AR, VR right now, the kind of stumbling blocks are power consumption and also the size of the devices. So as Finbarr mentioned, power consumption is something which is getting better and better, and MediaTek has been working very hard on making it more efficient. So as if you take the 5G example, we recently announced the 4G nanometer chipset, which is high performance and low power consumption chip. So as and when these technologies become better, I think AR VR will be more adaptable for end user. So right now it is more being used in enterprises. Those are places where they can use it for, let's say, for example, training on a special equipment, which are using immersive experience on AR VR device. But I think as technology evolves, we will see it also get absorbed in the end user use cases.
I mean, these kind of speeds, you can do away with all our wired stuff.
So that is, we can maybe wait for that to happen. But this Wi-Fi 7 does provide 10 gigabit connectivity, so that's really amazing. So I think even at home in offices these days, the wire connections are getting reduced day by day, right, to reduce the clutter. And even at home, we don't see so many Ethernet connections anymore. So that's the kind of trend we look at, we see, and Wi-Fi 7 will be one great step in that direction.
Coming to you, how does AI improve aspects like speed, battery life, better opportunities for photography and videography, generally the user experience?
So definitely, AI is the main things to enhance the user experience. If you see, whatever the innovation research we do, it has always the bottleneck in the hardware, and which can be enhanced by doing the AI, by adding the AI in that. And as I mentioned, that Reno 7 Pro is the example for that one. In that, we have enhanced not only the image for capturing the image, but also in the video. Lot of image algorithm we had add on this, which is based on the AI, where we enhancing the AI video for in the late night. Now, if you see with the enabling with the 5G technology and all, people are more towards the video content. Earlier, people are more towards the picture, taking picture and all. Now, the portion of people who are capturing the video are more compared to the images and all. So now they are more like a content creator. So they need the solution which are good for the video and at the same time good in the night mode. In the night mode, how to make sure that video quality is enhanced. So for that one, lot of AI in-house solution which we had come up that enhance the AI video portrait mode. In that, the exact identifying the object is a human face and the background object. So when we talk about the AI, so AI is more like how good is your data set. Data set is good like how good is your input source, and input source is how good is your hardware. So all from hardware to software is an interlink. And to utilize all these different stakeholders from hardware to the data set to the algo, all clubbing all together in the AI packaging and utilizing those learning and recommending the best possible picture or video that helps in the image quality. And as far as and AI is not restricted only the image, because AI is just an enabler. Image and video is one of the vertical. Same way is apply for the power and all. If you see the 5G, the way from 2019, because we are the first one who had launched the 5G device in the Europe market. So we are seeing that after enabling with the 5G, after commercialization with the 5G, lot of user behaviors is also changed. The consumption of the video is changed. So their expectation, the requirement from the smartphone is also drastically changing. So in that, with this technology, now the power becomes the major factor. And as you know that we as Oppo, we are leading in the fast charging. All our devices are equipped with the fast charging, and in that also apply the AI. There we just optimize the for example, like when the 5G you are using, then how to switch between the 5G to 4G so that we can optimize the power consumption there. There also AI comes. Which application we have to recommend at what time user we need what kind of application, so that we can keep loading the RAM side, so that it will not take much issue when we try to launch that one. That will enhance the performance. So either is the image quality, video quality, power, or performance. Everywhere AI comes.
Okay. Since we are on that subject, Tasleem, there's this question. Let me just put that to you anyway. Ankit Tyagi asking, which new smartphones can we see from Oppo this year? Which features will you be focusing on for the Indian customers? So video, is that your answer?
No, lot of things, because you know that we had established Hyderabad R&D Center, and this center is mainly working on the image, video quality, followed by the 5G technology, performance, and power stuff. So lot of localization solution we will see for the Indian consumer. And to start with, which we recently launched, Reno 7 Pro, which is, we can say that portrait expert. Lot of in-house research solution we have added on this, which is for the local users. Like you know that in India there are different kind of look and all. Some bindi, some have the beard, some have different kind of look, and also how to take all this data set for our AI recommendation. So on this also we took the data set for the Indian local user to enhance our algorithm. So if you see, lot of things is going to come in this year on the localization front.
Okay. Karthik, let me ask you on that same thing. What is your experience? You must be talking to a lot of people. I'm sure you work with a number of companies. What is your expectation? What are some of the innovative smartphone technologies that will up the performance this year?
So first and foremost, like I think what Tasleem said and what Finbarr and Anku also mentioned is we're going to look at an explosion of 5G devices in India this year. So one of the things which we track is what sells out from a retailer to the end consumer. So if you look at 5G as such, 2021, 12% of the handsets which were sold were 5G enabled, right? Just 12%. But we know that 5G is going to get launched, and historically this is what we've seen is generally a year or before the technology gets launched, the devices are already uploaded with that feature, purely because whenever a consumer is going to buy something, he wants to be future proof, right? So what we believe is probably 2022, maybe somewhere about 35 to 40%, or maybe even higher devices would have 5G technology. So that's the first thing which we feel in terms of technology which comes in. Of course, the moment you have 5G enabled devices, and then when you marry that with the technology which the operator would bring in whenever it is launched, probably end of this year, or right. So then it brings in a lot of possibilities. Yeah, that's one. Secondly, in terms of, we see a lot of new scope for innovations in voice, right? Because typically voice as a feature is still not very Indianized. We have a lot of local dialects, and it's very tough. It's not easy, right, to do this. So I think over the last few years, brands have been learning this. The devices are learning this. And again, when you talk of machine learning and AI, We believe this is something where there will be some significant steps which would happen this year. Very simple voice technologies, probably more variants, so that the devices can understand the different dialects in India. Within Hindi itself, there are so many dialects, right? I mean, forget the other languages which we have, right? So that's one. The third, we believe, is Fold as a technology. Pretty expensive. I think it had some success last year. So the challenge is to make it mass, which is not going to happen so fast. But what we believe is we'll probably see a little more prices easing off on this as
people want to fold their phones, is it?
Yeah. So see, one, it's of course an innovation. Two, it kind of enables you to do more tasks from a screen point of view again, which is there. And of course, then that means where do you place your camera and a lot of things. A little complicated, but I think we'll see a little more changes and innovations in Fold, and probably also the Fold technology. You might see it going a notch or two below in terms of end price being offered to the consumer, right? So I think that's definitely there, which is going to be there. So these are some of the new technologies, innovations, which we see. And one final, which I think which initially Finbarr also spoke about, is the connected devices. So it's not just about handsets. I think this year is also going to be about all the connected devices. So one of the things which we see when we also understand the wants or the requirements of consumer, right? Through the GfK consumer life study, what we've seen is India, the aspiration to own other devices, which is either a headset or a smartwatch, is even higher than that to have a handset, right? So what is needed probably is a standard to which enables all these devices to talk to each other. I think there's a lot of work happening globally, and probably that will reach here also. So those are things where we'll see a lot of innovations happening. So it's not just the handset, it's how the handset can talk to the speakers, the smartwatches, the fitness bands, the smart bulbs, right? So you already have, let's say, most of the air conditioners which are launched in India, and AC season is just coming up, you would see they have a smart device, right? So you can probably use it from a mobile, right? There's an app there. I think that is going to become hygiene very soon in India, right? But it's all happening in isolation. What will happen is you'll probably have now everything getting connected slowly. That's what we see.
Okay, Tasleem, you want to get a quick response to that? Fold, voice, connections.
Yeah, definitely. As Karthik mentioned, if you see in India, as per the IDC report, 2021, 555% increase in the 5G device shipment as per the registered shipment. So definitely a lot of 5G devices are coming. So in this area, once it comes, then mostly all the operators start doing their verification on the 5G side. So I will just add on that in Oppo side, we are very closely working with all the operators. Even the Airtel and Jio, they had done their first demo in India with Oppo. So definitely once this technology comes, so as Karthik mentioned, connectivity is also there. And at the same time, foldable device, because now we have that foldable device here also. So this is something.
You use one.
Yeah, new one. So this is something is going to be very popular. And it's not only the foldable device, how you design the device is important. So that user can hold it properly, so that user can use it properly. So definitely there are a lot of
bigger surface area.
Exactly, and a lot of innovation.
Surface area, and therefore you can do a lot more.
And a lot of innovation is going on that, because if you see there are some foldable devices, there are some gap in between. But if you see in Oppo, they're very perfect. So definitely a lot of innovation is going on the foldable device. And definitely to make it more popular, the price segment is somewhere all companies are working on that. And the day we can make it on more affordable price and all, the foldable device is going to be the next game changer.
Fascinating. Okay.
Yeah.
Shilpa?
Yeah, we have some questions from the audience. This is from Varsha Thomas and a similar question by Purvika Garg. Metaverse is expected to change the whole technology ball game. How prepared is the Indian smartphone ecosystem for the upcoming metaverse and new change?
Who wants to take that? Anku, Tasleem?
Yeah, firstly, in the as Oppo side, we had recently launched that imaging NPU. That is the something, because when we come metaverse, how to handle that, because from the technology side, how to handle those high-end graphics and all, that also come in the picture. So that's the reason, if you say last year in InnoDay, we had demoed our imaging NPU, which we had launched also in the Findex to support the 4K night video one, and followed by the air glass. So there are something which we are also working on this, and definitely with the things get more involved, a lot of use cases will come in this.
Yeah, I think metaverse is something which is catching on for sure. And I read a research somewhere that by 2026, every user will end up spending about 1 hour in the metaverse. Like as of today, we spend about many hours on a smartphone. Similarly, I think 25% of the people will end up spending 1 hour on the metaverse. So this looks very far-fetched, but that's a study which is done, and it may come true. So this is definitely a trend which is catching on. And I actually talked to my son, who is just 16 years old. He knew more about that than me. And I think the kids which are coming up, I think they are native in this technology, right? I think he plays I even forget the names of the games, but he plays all those games. He knows about avatars and virtual stuff. So I think this is something which is especially for India. As we heard earlier, that demographic is such that we have so many millennials. I think this is going to catch on for sure. And we also have seen that many companies, they see an opportunity, and they have started booking up spaces in different virtual worlds, trying to give ads over there because they expect a lot of users to come in. So I think, yeah, it's looking a very different world, but that's going to come true for sure in the next few years.
Finbarr, you want to add to that? How is 5G going to change the way all of us are going to use our smartphones?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to build maybe on what Tasleem and Anku were talking about, like when we start seeing the metaverse. I mean, I tend to agree this is a major trend in the industry going forward. When we look at it, right, I mean, it's a lot of complicated technologies that have to come together to make the metaverse vision come together, right? It's low power, high-end computing, graphics, camera, AI, connectivity is important, right? From the MediaTek perspective, we look at our portfolio of technologies and capabilities, and we see that we have pretty much everything that's needed to make this work. So we will certainly be there. But I also think it's, the major phone brands like Oppo, who have all of that technology capability in-house to bring those devices to the market, is also going to be required to turn this into a reality. Low power, high performance connectivity at scale is what it's going to take, right? Like here we are, right? We're all on our little Zoom windows, and because of the pandemic, we've all been living in these little Zoom boxes for the last couple of years, right? And conducting our daily work, conducting our social life, right? I think, when the vision of the metaverse is brought to reality, this kind of an experience will be a very different experience for all of us, right? Rather than these little Zoom boxes that we're in. So I think, like many things, the pandemic has been terrible, but it's also accelerated some of these technologies, whether it's Wi-Fi, 5G, home connectivity, smart home IoT devices like Kartik was talking about. It probably will accelerate the metaverse adoption as well, I think.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, you are in Silicon Valley. I mean, in India, recently we had somebody on one of our panels, a little skeptical about metaverse. I didn't think it's going to happen very soon, at least. What is your sense? A lot of excitement in the Valley?
Yes, there is. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of investment. There's a lot of companies working on this. But I also agree this is not something that happens tomorrow. This is a many year journey to really bring to fruition, right? So, I think, let's see the progress over the next year or two, but it's probably 5 to 10 years before some of these, real at scale deployments can sort of come together. But, as Tasleem knows, like there's a lot of hard work to do on the device and product side to make those kind of things happen. And we certainly have technology challenges around all aspects of it, power consumption, Anku mentioned the size of the devices, the form factors, the graphics, the connectivity, all of these have to come together. A lot of work for everyone to do.
Okay. This is a related 5G question from Amar Prasti asking, now that 5G is in the horizon and all mobile innovations are centered around 5G, what does it mean for 4G devices? Is there still any scope for innovation in 4G devices? What is it that you see in the valley, Finbarr?
We, as MediaTek, 4G continues to be a very important part of our portfolio. So I think, I think we mentioned earlier in the discussion that MediaTek became the largest smartphone SoC vendor, and we've talked a lot about 5G tonight. And 5G is certainly important and is certainly a growing part of our business. But we still continue to ship lots and lots of 4G devices, and we don't see that going away. So we will even be introducing new 4G platforms, bringing new capabilities to 4G that haven't been seen before as we go forward. Because we think for many parts of the globe and for some consumers, whether it's older people, younger people, different markets, 4G is going to continue to be an important technology for many years. So it's declining, of course, because 5G is growing as we've been talking about. But Kartik can probably model this, but there's going to be a multi-year transition as the globe transitions from 4G to 5G. The other factor which we have to recognize, and it's a reality, is that all of the 5G chipsets are really moving into the more advanced process technologies because of the requirements and the power consumption and stuff. Those are not necessarily the most cost effective in terms of the device prices, right? So I think the semiconductor challenges in the industry over the last couple of years have also probably created more of a separation between 4G price points and 5G price points that also I think will allow 4G to continue for many years, we believe.
Yeah, Anku, same thing in India?
Yeah, absolutely. I think 4G will have a long tail for sure. And apart from affordability point of view, I think we also have to see how much time it takes for 5G to reach all parts of the country. So I think that takes its own time, and we need backhaul and fiber connectivity and so on. That takes its time. So I think 4G is definitely going to play a very important role for MediaTek in the Indian market. We'll continue to, as Finbarr mentioned, bring up more chips for our and work along with our OEM partners to keep launching good phones, 4G based phones. And we see a very huge market for that keep going forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shilpa, your questions? No?
Yeah, we have this question from Amar. What are some of the aspects like performance, battery performance, heating, where MediaTek scores above its competitors?
Sorry, I missed the last part of your question, Shilpa. Can you
what are some of the aspects, including performance, batteries performance, heating, where MediaTek scores over its competitors?
I'll take a stab, and maybe others can jump in. I think power consumption has always been like MediaTek. Our biggest business is mobile. Power consumption drives pretty much everything we do. It's always a delicate balance, because on one hand you want to drive performance, but the more you drive performance, the more you increase the power consumption. So these things are always in conflict, maybe, or balance if we do our job right. But I think we have generally done well on the modem power consumption. So when you look at 5G overall, power consumption for 5G use cases tends to be pretty good with the MediaTek solutions, which is obviously important as a core technology going forward to anchor these devices. We work very closely with TSMC, our neighbor in Taiwan, and the leading foundry partner, to continue to push devices into the latest process technologies, which also helps with the overall power consumption. And I think recently we focus a lot on use cases. Tasleem mentioned this, and I think it's an important one: video use cases. I think in the past, a lot of focus used to go on optimizing the still image capture use case, which was, one and done, right? You kind of take the image, you can do some background processing, and then you go back to sleep or whatever. When you talk about video, you're using all of these things at the same time. The camera is on, the CPU is on, the memory is on, so it's a much more demanding use case. And all of the advanced techniques that Tasleem was describing around AI for video enhancements are all running in real time as you're taking the video, right? So I think we put a lot of effort into those kind of use cases as well to try to optimize the power consumption there around camera AI usage as well for video.
Okay, Anku, you have a kind of an open platform. You allow the OEM to kind of do a lot of customization. These synergies between devices, software, and hardware, they enable the next level of collaboration towards a multi-device ecosystem.
Yeah, what you mentioned about open architecture is something we call DORA. That is the Dimensity Open Resource Architecture. That allows our OEM partners to have closer access to the chip functions. So I think that gives a chance for our OEMs to differentiate and create user experiences which are which they have researched on and they feel that they are important for their market segment. So this architecture, actually open architecture, allows them to do that. And the recent phone, which has been announced by Oppo, is doing exactly that. So Tasleem mentioned about that the R&D team has been working very hard on making that leveraging that technology and making the phone much more user friendly and usable for the end user. Apart from that, I think you talked about synergy between devices. What was your exact question?
Yeah, devices, software, and hardware, do they enable the next levels of collaboration?
Yeah, definitely. I think as we have been discussing in earlier part of this talk, future is all about a network of connected devices, right? So we are going to see more and more devices being connected and interacting with each other and processing data, and AI and all that will happen. So this requires definitely a very high level of collaboration, right from the silicon, like MediaTek chip inside, and also circuit to the apps and middleware and the AI ML apps applications. All these things have to work together to give a seamless experience to the end user and to make it usable. And also the diversity of devices like smartphones, smart TVs, surveillance cameras, sensors, IoT components from multiple manufacturers. We need to also take care of interoperability between them, so that the end user don't have to really worry too much about that aspect about interoperability, which we heard that earlier. And I think in India, it is important that we foresee these issues and learn from the use cases from the mature markets. I think in India, we are still, kind of adopting all these different connected technologies, and we can see what's happening in other geographies, and we can kind of learn from that. But definitely, all these aspects have to work together. Hardware, software, applications. They have to collaborate with each other, and that's what actually MediaTek has been doing very well with our OEM partners, and also looking at the software layer and the middleware layer. All those things are working pretty well.
Okay. Karthik, I wanted to ask you, you're GFK as a global company. Are there any interesting differences between Indian consumers and consumers elsewhere? Or are they all kind of similar?
Well, yes and no. So I think on a lot of things we are very different as Indian consumers. So let me put on my the Indian hat first, and then I'll probably go to the global hat. So what is different about India is that there is we're still very polarized. So what we've seen is we have generally at times skipped technologies altogether, right? And then gone on to something which is very new, and probably no one in the world thought that would take off, right? So I think that is something we've seen in India. So whether it is we talked about 4G, right? And the long tail of 4G. So I think in terms of usage, the way 4G has been used in India, whether it is by consumers or by institutions like the government of India, right? So I think those use cases are phenomenal. Nobody would have thought that it can be used like that. So today, a mobile handset is let's say, we were talking about almost 95% type of teledensity in India, right? Which is very, very, very high. The second thing, what we see where we're far way ahead than some of the other countries is what we can do on a mobile. So in terms of mobile gaming, right? We talked about content creation, so Tasleem mentioned that. In top, also what we measure in the consumer life study is the percentage of people using a mobile for watching video, not just making videos, is one of the highest in the world. Right, and this is these are things that we are very different from some of the other countries, even far beyond the developed countries. And of course it helps that our data is one of the cheapest in the world today, right? So it definitely helps us there. I think some of the things where we probably lack is more to do in terms of which is more to do, let's say, with connected devices, where the Indian consumer still is far behind some of the other developed countries, and it has to do with infrastructure. It has to do also with affordability, right? So PC penetration, for example, we are at about 11-12%, far lower than I think any of the other countries which are there, right? So even China, the PC penetration is far higher than us. So I think those are things where we are lagging behind. And I would say and probably Finbarr would agree, and even Tasleem and Anku would agree, is what makes this market unique is the diversity. So it gives you more opportunity, right? So that's I think the unique thing about India. So so those are some things which we see we're very different. To give you one very clear comparison where we kind of are very similar is when 5G was launched in Korea, and this was about 3-4 years ago, right? So there was an immediate uptake and a change in the consumer usage, right? I think we're going to see that in India with 5G coming in. So yeah. Those are similarities which we see very clearly.
Okay, very interesting.
And Karthik mentioned that diversity is the main thing, because now the way, as I mentioned, the way the AI coming, so the data set, the sampling is the key one. So since there is a diversity, there are different kind of data set is required, different kind of sampling is required to do that recommendation and all. So definitely diversity is the main key for all these kind of things.
So your AI systems have to be accordingly designed, is it?
Exactly.
If any tough problem.
Yeah. So is a challenge. So definitely it's an opportunity for us also to optimize our algo for that. That's the reason why in technology we say that if we can fulfill Indian user requirement globally, it will be fine. So because there's so much diversity, so much different kind of sampling data and all. So if you handle all these things, it's good for the global.
Okay. Shilpa, I also have some questions and all that. Yeah, you have some questions, no?
Yes, I have some questions. Yeah, this one is from Shiva Singh. With 5G expected to become a reality in India this year, how are you going to cope up with increased demand for new technologies considering the ongoing chip shortage globally?
Who wants to take that? Finbarr, go ahead.
I can maybe make a start. Yeah, I mean, I think we're, it's well publicized. We've been, living through some challenging times in the semiconductor industry. We're certainly not out of it yet. I think we're still going to see constraints and tightness going forward this year. MediaTek, I think, one of the things about us is our scale, right? We are a very big company. We are in so many different segments. It gives us a lot of levers that we can pull internally to try to sort of optimize what kind of products that people want to build, right? So, are we building 4G products or 5G products? Are we building Wi-Fi or TV products, right? Because, ultimately all of these products use the same or similar fabs in the supply chain. So it gives us some flexibility. We're not immune. We've had our challenges, and, some of our customers are probably not getting everything that they would like to get right now. I think things are moderating a little bit, but I think we're still going to have some constraints. But we feel pretty confident that, we've got the supply secured for what we need for 2022 for our customers. So there may be surprises, and it's a very dynamic industry, but, we're cautiously, let's say, optimistic going forward that we will navigate reasonably well, I think.
Okay, I have a related semiconductor question here from Saurav Kar. Anku, maybe you can take this. How is the new Indian semiconductor policy and the Make in India push change the supply chain equation for semiconductors and therefore smartphones?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. We have seen, as Finbarr mentioned, we had challenges, global challenges in chip shortage, and I think that has happened due to the demand, global demand of electronic devices in the last 2 years due to the pandemic, as well as disruption in geographic supply chains. Now, I think the Indian government has really taken to this quite seriously, and they have deployed the PLI schemes, which is really a great move. I think that will help India to become more Atmanirbhar, which is the theme of the government. And the latest PLI scheme is all about setting up fabs in India, which is really the last frontier of creating the whole overall ecosystem in India. We already had immense growth in mobile phone manufacturing in the last few years, and this is really the last frontier. And I think if we can crack this fab manufacturing in India, I think that will take us forward many notches. And I think this PLI scheme, which was launched, the government have taken very serious note on that. And we, as MediaTek, also had many discussions. I think it is going forward quite well, and this is going to close the overall ecosystem. Of course, it'll take time. It's a long. It'll take a long time to see the fruits of this effort, and we also need to have the ancillary units and other components to be made in India. But we are already doing very well, and in fact, our partner Oppo has set up a huge manufacturing center for mobile phones, right? And that was a starting point. And now, once we have the other components in place, India will be more self-sustained, right? And I think we can kind of go around these challenges going forward.
The government wants to start with upgrading that Mohali lab and all that. Is there anything that you can do with the Mohali lab to begin with?
So, MediaTek is a fabless company. So we design chips and don't really manufacture them. So, but, we can work with them to kind of exchange, ideas and such kind of things. But we are not really directly involved in manufacturing chips. So, but we are essentially a fabless company.
Mm-hmm. But you designing it and prototyping it in the Mohali lab or something like that, is that possible?
Yeah. So that depends on the kind of nodes which they are making over there.
Okay.
As Finbarr mentioned, we have multiple verticals with different nodes being used. Our latest Dimensity 9000 is the latest 4 nanometer chip node, right? So it depends on the kind of nodes they're going to make, and depending on that, we can see where we go from there.
Okay. Shilpa, your questions? I have an interesting one for Tasleem, but go ahead.
No, please go ahead, Sujit. I'm still queuing up. Yeah.
There's one. Okay. Tulshe Agnihotri asking, how is Oppo innovating in terms of smartphone design? Can you talk about the shooting star design in Oppo phones? Okay. What is the shooting star design, Tasleem, for my interest?
So in the shooting star, there's more on the camera side. We will do on that one. And also, so if you, as I mentioned, that lot of innovation is going on, and we have invested a lot in the India R&D, and Hyderabad R&D is doing a lot of work on this camera AI part. And our recent product, as I mentioned, Reno 7 Pro is the great masterpiece for for the innovation which is done on the AI side. And if you, in the today's time, if you ask about any devices which have all this related to the camera, where either picture or video or in the late night mode and everything. So definitely this is the one product which we had launched and is there in the market, which we call it as a camera exported expert camera. So all this, if you want to capture the image or video and you want to be a star in your group and all, then this is the device which you can use it to capture and those videos and all.
Yeah. Okay. So this also uses a lot of AI and all that, I assume. No?
Definitely. AI is the core now. So any innovation which we do in our Oppo R&D, AI is always the core. Either is the camera or is the power or is the performance, anything. AI always at the core.
Okay. This is already in the market, the shooting star.
Yes. This device we already launched.
Okay. So now, Shilpa, is there anything, any questions? We're almost out of time.
No.
Yeah, okay. We have got some good questions. So yeah, we're almost out of time, a minute left. Some final words from each of you. What can India look forward to in the next 1 year in 2022? Karthik, you want to start? I know it's a repeat, but in summary, what would your message be for India?
So I think what we see from the consumer point of view and even from a retailers is that we kind of putting COVID behind. We are seeing very clearly sentiments to be positive. Jain has been a very good indication of that. So that's one. So what we believe from a sentiment point of view, the Indian market is coming back, and we're probably going to look at a very good 2022 in terms of what the consumer wants. Yeah, so we're very clearly waiting for more 5G devices and what are the possibilities in 5G. Some of the innovations in terms of voice, different devices which can talk to each other, right? Camera, of course, and also probably what we should look at is far more inclusion of smartphones. So today we've got about 200 million 2G devices. So I think a lot of brands are gunning for that, and that's a big opportunity. So I think
Inclusion
that,
meaning, sorry, I didn't understand that. Sorry.
so today there are about 200 million plus 2G devices in India, right? And that is where I think when Anku and Finbarr spoke about 4G, and why 4G is also needed in India is because this potential, which is converting the feature phone to smartphones. So essentially a lot of it will get into 4G. So I think those are the key messages which we see. And of course, the most important is that the consumer is very clear on what he wants. So some of the research which with Tasleem, has seen, which Oppo is doing, for their devices, so it's very clearly features which are simple and easy to use and very, very action oriented. And of course, the device needs to understand the consumer. So that's where AI comes in. So I think that's very clearly what we're looking at. And we do hope and we believe that this year would be a landmark year for India.
Okay. Tasleem, these are the kind of products you're coming with?
Yeah, so if you see as Oppo, we are very closely working with our Indian consumer. So we closely see that what exactly they need. And in the three top things which is coming out is the camera, performance, and the battery. So we always emphasize that these three are the key aspects when they buy their devices. So definitely along with that, hardware design. But in the software side, these three are the key one. And in all the three verticals, we are doing a lot of research, and we are enabling these three verticals through the AI so that we can enhance the user experience. And in 2022, if you see in the last year, smartphone shipment, which is increased by 11%, irrespective of so many challenges, and almost 169 million, as per the Counterpoint report, 169 million devices shipped last year. And also the demand of 5G, as we mentioned as per the IDC, 555% 5G device they shipped more. So considering all this trend, we are seeing that, and also the government alignment for this year that they mentioned that they will do the 5G auction also, which will going to be the next 4 vertical where the more technology 5G devices will come. So for that, all the Indian operators are working on this to make sure that once they launch it, all their network, everything will be very stable. So for that, Oppo, we are also working with these operators to make sure that whenever this 5G technology launch in India, which is expected somewhere in the Q3 or Q4, as per the media report, look like 13 metro cities, they are planning to start with that. So we want to be the first one to make sure that whoever buy the Oppo device, 5G ready device, they don't face any issue on the technology front. And for that, we are very closely working with all the top operators, either Airtel, Jio, for our consumers.
Okay. Anku?
Okay, yeah. So I think we are talking about 5G. That is going to. We are very excited about that. Apart from that, I think we are going to look at more and more smart devices, connected devices, getting launched in India. And as MediaTek, we are working very closely with Indian companies. Given the Atmanirbhar Bharat theme of Indian government, I think there are more and more Indian companies which are being set up, taking advantage of those schemes. And so MediaTek is working closely with them in order to create. There's so many devices which are going to get adopted and have more penetration in India. Things like smart meters, smart traffic signals, smart security cameras, and so on. I think all those devices are the ones which are going to be powered by MediaTek, of course, but we have to work closely with our OEM partners, and a lot of them are Indian. So we are looking at more and more make in India devices coming up. And apart from that, I would just like to touch upon startups as well. I think 5G is going to kind of change the game also for the startups in India. Last year, we already saw 40 plus unicorns in India, which is quite amazing. And this year, we already have 10 plus already this year. And as we see 5G being deployed, we will see more and more innovation which will come up based on 5G, which we don't know right now. I think a lot of innovation will be unleashed. It's similar to what we saw when 3G was taken away by 4G. And we have things like Uber and Swiggy's of the world, which couldn't have been possible on 3G, right? It is only possible on 4G. And we couldn't have thought about that. When 4G was coming up, we thought, what we'll do with all this bandwidth. So as when we see the 5G coming up, we will look at more innovation happening here in India as well. Okay. And so we are, as MediaTek, very excited about that. We are going to be the partners for all these companies, providing the 5G technology to them.
Okay. Finbarr, the 5G transition, how has it been smooth in the US?
The US has its own set of challenges around spectrum, which is probably a whole other discussion.
Oh, is it? Okay.
So we still have, it's moving now with some recent spectrum changes and stuff, but I think the millimeter wave technology has proved somewhat challenging, and it's been interesting, let's say. But to maybe circle back, I think what we see from this discussion today is like, all of the pieces seem to be coming together from the India perspective, right? We have, strong 5G device seeding from OEMs like Oppo in the market, right? I think Karthik spoke about how the consumer behavior changed when the India market switched, from 2G, skipped 3G, and basically went to 4G. And as you said, like really kind of turned on the whole video use case, basically blew it out of the water for the rest of the world. I'm personally very interested to see what happens now with the, 5G device seeding, the government policy around the licensing happening this year, a diverse Indian consumer base that is used to these use cases, right? What is that going to enable? I think we're going to have to just watch and see what we learn from the India market as we go through this year and next year. I think it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the kind of technologies that all of you spoke about, absolutely, all the foldable stuff, the AI applications, I think we have much to look forward to. Thanks for such an exciting discussion. Thanks, Finbarr. Thanks, Anku. Tasleem, Kartik, really a delight to have you all.
Thanks, Ajit. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you.